we should redefine the word billionaire to be someone who impacts the lives of 1 billion people. Now, whether you think of that from spirituality or from a money perspective, the wealthiest people in the world are creating something that services the most amount of people, and the scale of the problem you're solving and the depth of the issue is how much money you make. So if someone created a cure for cancer and was able to scale it across the world, they would probably be the wealthiest person on the planet because they created something out of service. Now, you may say, well, Jay, well, no, many people out of wanting the money will figure that out. I'd say that they may, but I'm hoping that on that journey, they'll upgrade and their desire and their intention will be purified. And I think this was what I loved learning from the Bhagavad Gita, which was this idea of there is no pure intention. All intentions are percentages and divided. So when you first start something, you may have a 70% pure intention, but there's 30% of ego in that.
Yeah.
Or when you start, it's probably the other way around, 25% good intention and 75% of ego, but it's purified in the process. So even if you look at people who've set out their lives, and I work with many of them who set out at the beginning of their lives to become wealthy and famous, when they became wealthy and famous, they then realized that wasn't the point, and they were purified in the process of achieving their goal. And so the way I think about it is that in a capitalist society, even the people that are succeeding because of service, whether it's conscious or not conscious, whether it's intentional or unintentional, they're still only successful. Like Amazon is successful because we all want its service. Like we want to be served by Amazon, right? And I'm not promoting or de-promoting Amazon. I'm just making the point that because it serves a daily need for the majority of the population, they are financially successful because of it. Does that make sense, Liz? I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well,
and I see your face, so I'm like, I want to.
Well, because I feel like it doesn't purify. Like Jeff Bezos. Actually, I don't care about pissing off Jeff Bezos. I'm doing it with love. You know, Jeff Bezos. I don't have any evidence that he was purified by becoming a billionaire. Like he still has 28 bathrooms, but then he's preventing his workers from unionizing, right? So, like, yeah, I guess I'm still wondering how to reconcile those things. And we've talked about the intersection of masculinity and risk, about how, you know, women are willing to take big risks when it comes to redistribution, when it comes to more taxation, when it comes to the environment. And it's actually men who, and particularly white men, sorry, that I'm just speaking the data.
Hey, I'm sitting here.
It's particularly white men because, yeah, the 10 most wealthiest people are white men. You know, they have the most to lose. So I think about that all the time. You know, I'm bringing this up because it's something that I grapple with.
Yeah. Where
I feel like my heart is in the right place, and 100% I've known when it's not, or when I've done something I'm like, this was not for the right reason. But yeah, how do we reconcile those things? I think.
And yeah, whether anyone's been purified or not, and where their journey of life goes, we'll find out, right? With everyone. I really believe that everyone's on this recurring journey of life, and it's all to get people to realize that service is the only goal. And we kind of have to keep having life experiences and failures and shortcomings and issues and everything going wrong to only remind you of that, and that being the only satisfying thing. The way you reconcile it is only through stillness and solitude. Like if you don't spend enough time alone every day and try to hear yourself and try to hear the words of your spiritual teachers, guides, texts, then you are only going to hear the noise from society outside, and that's what you'll end up following. Or if you're switching off the noise to listen to a podcast like this and all the other episodes that I've seen the guests you've had on and the types of conversations you're having on, you're all performing a service. And by the way, everyone who's listening is also serving by learning. So it's not only the giver that is serving, the receiver is also serving. I think the bigger challenge is also that we've just lacked examples of that. And so to me, it's like I would be traveling with one of our senior monk leaders. You know, this gentleman's 70 years old. I'm like, I don't know, 21 years old. And every day we'd wake up in the morning and he would bow down before me on the floor to honor the soul that's within my heart. And I would do the same back. but he would always beat me to it. And there was no one watching. There were no fanfare. There was no audience. There was no one to do it for. I wasn't Jay Shetty. Like, I was just a kid who's 21 years old. And that's how we were taught to behave with each other, with that much level of respect. Now, he would have done that with anyone in the room. So the reason I'm sharing that is, like, when I experienced that level of masculine, or whatever you want to call that, like, you know, when I experienced that, it gave me faith that a man could be extremely powerful by being extremely humble.
Yeah.
That a man could penetrate my heart by being really kind and caring and compassionate. But if you've never experienced that, how are you to believe that that's possible?
Yeah.
I think the first step is to seek and find. Like, I think it's hard to tell anyone the formula for how to navigate that without them finding a purpose that is bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for anyone to navigate life. Sometimes your purpose bigger than yourself becomes your family. Yeah. And your love for your family. And that's as far and wide as your mind wants to go. And that's beautiful. Yeah. And for some people, it becomes the world. And for some people, it becomes their town and their city. But everyone has to have something. You know, those beautiful words of Martin Luther King of, you know, if you have nothing to die for, you have nothing to live for. Like, that to me is the clear purpose of life, where we have to seek out what it is that we really care about and what we really believe in. And that can be your family. That's totally fine. Like, this doesn't have to be like I'm going to become an activist and change the world conversation. This is, I care about the quality of life my family has. But I think about quality based on the depth of their experience of life, not just what they have. And I'm going to live my life, or try and live my life in that way. And so to me, the first step is to seek mentors, coaches, guides, guidance. It has to be. It always is. I had the fortune of interviewing Walter Isaacson. He's famously known to write the biographies of the biggest icons of all time. So he wrote the official biography of Leonardo da Vinci, Einstein, Steve Jobs. Like, you know, just it's insane. And he worked at CNN and Time before that. And he wrote a new book about a lady named Jennifer Doudna, who is the founder of gene editing. Now, she's a female scientist who was told by her school teachers that women don't become scientists, right? Like, women can't be scientists. She just won the Nobel Prize for her discovery. So amazing. And he just wrote a book about her life. It's called Codebreaker. The reason why I'm sharing all of that is that some girl's gonna pick up that book, or guy, both, or anyone, or they are gonna pick up that book, and they are gonna find their role model in that book. We may not have a monk on speed dial, we may not have met a monk when we were 18, but you're going to find when you start searching and looking, and when you find that, you're gonna read it, you're gonna internalize it, and it's gonna change how you think. And I just feel that encouraging people to find coaches, guides, and mentors is the best thing I can do, because there's no one we admire that doesn't have that. Whether they're an athlete, whether they're a singer, whether they're a musician, whether they're a videographer or editor, everyone's had mentors, guides, and coaches, but it's become so far removed from our lives today that everyone thinks they have to figure it out for themselves. And that's where the mess is created from. It sounds like an obvious point, but it's almost like we obviously haven't pushed it enough.
Right. Because
as a man, to take another person as your mentor also requires you to have humility. You've got to forgive yourself. You got to be compassionate to yourself. So the simple act of taking on a mentor actually does more for your masculinity than anything else.
And also being a mentor.
Yes.
Right? You reach a place and you have your success, or you've achieved something, and then being of service to that person is sending the elevator back down. But it's the biggest myth of masculinity, that we have to do it by ourselves.
Yes.
Like that we can't ask for help. We can't ask for guidance. We can't ask for those things.
Yeah. Here are 3 signs you're struggling with a lack of purpose. Number 1, you feel pressure to know what you want to do with your life. Number 2, you've lost interest in your own life and feel disconnected. Number 3, you don't know what your skills are, or you feel you lack them. Hope is not lost. You can get through this. Having purpose and meaning in our lives helps guide us through the ups and downs and create structure in our day-to-day life. That's why I've partnered with Calm, the leading app for mental health and wellness. The app has a library with thousands of meditations, songs to help you relax and focus, and sleep stories to help you get a good night's rest. And now you can find the Daily Jade, a daily series where I'm sharing proven tools and techniques to improve your mindset and mental health in a matter of minutes.